Assalamu alaikum and peace be unto you. I'm Sister Latasha Muhammad, and in this video I want to talk to you about the effects of eating pork and why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught all of the Muslims to stop eating swine flesh. So let's get right into it. There's so much that I want to say, but I want to try to make this video as short as possible. When I first came into the Nation of Islam and I became registered, that was one of the first things coming into the Nation of Islam that I learned, was that the pork flesh is composed of a parasitic worm called Trichinella Spiralis, or the pork worm can also be called Trichinae. And when you eat pig flesh, these pork worms get into your body. They're microscopic. You can't see them unless you have a microscope. When you eat the pig flesh, the pork worms get into your body. Literally, they get into your bloodstream. They get into your bones. They attach themselves and their larvae to the fibers of your muscles. They get into your organs. They infest your heart. They infest your brain. They infest your kidneys. They infest your arteries. They infest your eyes. You literally become a walking, living mass of worms when you eat this pig flesh. When you eat the pig flesh, the worms, as I said before, they get into your bloodstream and they travel. Our bodies have so many veins and capillaries and arteries all throughout our bodies. We have so many places where the worms can travel and live, and that's what they do. You are the pork worm's host. You know how you're a host, people are coming over, you invite them in, you make them warm and cozy and nice. Well, you're the pork worm's host. Your body is the capsule for them to breed. Your body is warm and full of nutrients where they stay alive and they grow and they multiply like crazy. It's not only the worm. The worms breed. The worms lay larvae. And the larvae that are laid are encased in a cyst. A cyst is like a shield. It's like a holding place for something that's growing. And the cyst that the larvae is encased in, the cyst is hard. It's like a barrier. It's like a protection for the larvae. So it is a straight lie, 100% lie, when these doctors tell you to just cook it well. Cook the pork well. You don't think bacon is cooked well enough? Like, bacon is cooked well. Pork chops are cooked well. And a lot of dishes that black people make and Mexicans make that have pork in it, a lot of these dishes are cooked for hours. So you can't tell me you just gotta cook it well to cook the pork to kill the worm. That's crap. That is crap. You have not done your research. That is baloney. Why do you think when you cook bacon it curls up? It curls up. That's all those larvae and that pork worm in there. Why do you think bacon has a different smell? Pork has a different smell when it's cooking. It's disgusting. Now I haven't been eating it for so long, it turns my stomach. And I immediately know if I go out to a restaurant or something. I always ask questions, but sometimes they try to slip stuff in there. I'll know immediately if there's like pork in something I'm eating. I've developed a sensitivity. If it touches my tongue, immediately I will start getting dizzy. I know right away. So yeah, that's a lie. To cook the pork worm, to cook the pork worm out and kill the worm, to cook it well, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. Like, I'm trying to just get this information to you so you can live longer and be healthier. But again, we have to make our own choices. So, yeah, the pork worm, the larvae is encased in a cyst. And that cyst is heat proof. The cyst is heat proof. The heat will not kill the larvae. So that means you're eating well done crispy bacon, well done pork chops, well done chitlins or sausage, boiled sausage or fried sausage or whatever, and you're still eating this seasoned mass of cooked worms where the larvae is still alive. And all it needs to do is get into your system. And then the cyst that the larvae is encased in can open up so the larvae can come out and live. I'm telling you guys, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us in How to Eat to Live. He talks about the pork worm in How to Eat to Live, books 1 and 2. He talks about it in here. You don't cook the pork well done and then it's okay to eat. Again, I'm telling you, that's a lie. And it's so funny how we're just so quick to believe these doctors and what they tell us. Well, yeah, all you got to do is cook the pork well. That's a lie. It's so crazy to me how we are quick to believe anything the Caucasian tells us, but we refuse to believe anything a black man tells us about our health. About our health. Why don't you try something different? Why don't you listen to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? If these Caucasian doctors was telling you the truth, there wouldn't be so much sickness in America. We need to think about it. We need to think. Use our heads. Use our minds. So it is a lie if you cook the pork well done that you kill the pork worm. No, that's a lie. The larvae that the worms lay inside of your body, I'm going to keep saying it until we get it, is encased in a cyst. The cyst is a protective covering over the larvae that the pork worm lays. And the cyst is heat resistant. So when you cook that pork and you're eating it and you're chowing down on it, that is when the cyst can open up. Once that is in your system, that's when the larvae can open up and get into your bloodstream, and all these worms in your body causes you sickness. It causes rheumatism and arthritis. It causes heart problems. I don't care what they call your heart problem. They may call it heart disease. They might call it cardiopulmonary disease. They may call it hypertension. They may call it, even the worms get into your brain. Your brain becomes infested with Trichinella Spiralis. Your bloodstream becomes infested with this pork worm and their larvae. Do you hear me? Do you understand what I'm saying, you guys? Do you understand how serious this is? A lot of Americans are sick with multiple things going on only because of this pork worm. But the doctors aren't telling you that. They're not telling you that. A lot of people have these like hard knots like in their skin and lumps underneath their skin. That's pork worm. They'll call it something else. They'll say, oh, it's a calcification of something, or that's pork worm laid up in your bones, laid up in your joints, making you stiff. You have a stiff body? You're stiff, you're not flexible. Do you eat pork? You got pork worm all up in your joints, making you stiff. You got red eyes? Pork worm, making your eyes red. You depressed all the time? Pork worm, up in your brain. You can't bend and stretch. You got pork worm. Pork worm will kill you. Okay, so years ago when I was in college, I was taking science classes, and I just really got tired of people saying, oh, you don't eat pork because you Muslim. You Muslim. So it's just like, I got sick and tired of that. And FYI, it's not Muslim, it's Muslim. Muslim. That's the proper way to say it. It's Muslim. So I decided to utilize the science lab, and I went to a butcher at a store. It was Albertsons at that time, a grocery store, and I asked if they would donate some pork meat to me so that I could study it. And I looked at the pork underneath the high-powered microscope. I used gloves and everything, and of course, and I saw the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is 1000% correct. The pork flesh is composed of worms. The pork flesh is composed of Trichinella Spiralis. What I saw under the microscope was larvae encased in a cyst. I saw it with my own eyes, not Wikipedia, not some doctor who said something on the internet. I didn't read it from no book. I studied this myself. And the cyst with the larvae inside of it was attached to the flesh of the pork meat. So can't nobody tell me nothing about pork and the pork worm. And I want to get into, I did a research paper, and the research paper is called Pork, the Other White Meat. And I know this video is long, you guys, but I gotta tell you, it is my duty as a Muslim to tell you the truth. And it's up to you whether you accept the truth or reject the truth. But I'm going to get into my research paper. So, pork, the other white meat. And I'm just going to kind of jump around and read certain things. Some common illnesses from eating pork are heart problems or hypertension. And that is from eating pork that contains a lot of fat. The Trichinella Spiralis, the pork worm, clogs the arteries and clogs the vessels in your heart chambers. Hypertension is the pork worm that is in your blood. Your blood is swimming with pork worm and its larvae. So it's giving you hypertension, high blood pressure. Tiredness, hog meat worms dragging you down, and brief attacks of trichinosis. Body odors and bad breath. The odor of the swine has been absorbed into your system and seeps out through the pores of your skin. Back, neck, shoulder, headache, and joint pains. The Trichinae worms have calcified or hardened inside your muscles and tendons, making it difficult for you to move. Bloodshot eyes. The pork worm, Trichinella Spiralis, has invaded the eyeballs and are close to the surface, forcing the eye veins to protrude. Obesity or overweight. Eating too much fatty pork, and this fat stays in the body and is not passed as waste. The waste stays inside of you. An uncontrollable temper. The brain has become infested with pork worms, causing the host, which is you're the host of the pork worm, causing the host to take on the characteristics of the hog. Some characteristics of the hog are shameless, bullified, bold, greedy, and impatient, as the nervous system is being affected by the pork worms. And these are just to name a few. You know yourself. You know the problems you're having physically. Do you eat pork? It could just be you eating pork that's causing your problems. And I know, like I said before, we like to believe everything the doctor says, but don't want to believe a black man. They're not going to tell you this. They are not going to tell you that the pork worm is killing you slowly. So let me continue. let me continue and let's see here. All right. How does pork harm the body? When humans eat this flesh called pork, no matter what grade, don't even trust the FDA, grade A, grade B, no matter what grade. These microscopic worms travel from our mouth into our stomachs and from our stomachs into the walls of our intestines. The worms then multiply, weaving their way into the muscles of our body. From the muscles into the spinal cord and up to our soft gray tissue called brain. When inside the body, the worms are there to stay, causing sickness, disease, and illnesses. When inside the body, eggs are laid and hatched. These larvae mature within 5 to 7 days. After their life cycle is completed, they become encysted in the internal organs of the host. So they burrow themselves into your organs. When they die, if they do, they calcify and become tiny, hardened, chalk-like nodules. Remember I was talking about those knots that be on your fingers or in your elbows or around your joints, those hard knots inside your body? You're like, what is this? Well, are you a pork eater? The brain of the host may also be severely infected and neurological problems may occur. Y'all. So if you're continuously eating this pork, eating pig, eating bacon, eating pork chops, eating pork tenderloin, you have a never-ending reserve of pork worm in your body, a never-ending reserve of pork larvae that are hatching inside of your body constantly. Constantly. Despite the fact that you are unable to notice them with the naked eye, pathologists have reported it is possible for almost 500,000 Trichinae to be found lodged in each pound of muscle tissue of the host. I'm going to say that again. Despite the fact that you are unable to notice them with the naked eye, pathologists have reported it is possible for almost 500,000 Trichinae to be found lodged in each pound of muscle tissue of the host. Many of these creatures can be seen on X-ray after the larvae have formed cysts in the muscles, which the cyst can protect the larvae for up to 2 years. Oh my God. I haven't read my paper in a long time. So I'm going to say that again too. Many of these creatures can be seen on X-ray after the larvae have formed cysts in the muscles, which can protect them for up to 2 years. After they become impregnated with chalk from calcification, they can be detected in the hands, lungs, neck, feet, knees, and shoulders. The female larvae is capable of laying up to 1,500 eggs per day, and by releasing them into the bloodstream, they burrow into the individual muscle fibers within a few weeks' time, and we suffer from their presence from years to come. It says that these eggs, it says that the female larvae is capable of laying up to 1,500 eggs per day. And by releasing these eggs into the bloodstream, these worm eggs, burrow themselves. They like dig themselves inside your muscles, inside your organs. Oh Allah. Pathologists have reported while doing an autopsy, when examining the muscle and organs of a pork eater, they found the larvae, the pork worm, they found still living and eating away at the corpse. Concerning the Trichinae, which often invade the muscles of the heart, spinal cord, and brain, they cause a multitude of ailments in the form of organ and circulatory aggravations. When the worms invade the eyes of the pork eater, they turn the white parts to red or dull brown. Each mouthful of pig flesh that is chewed and swallowed contains clusters of these worms. Heart failure results from large numbers of larvae invading the arteries and muscles of the heart. The reasons given for continuing to use pork for food usually contain something like, pigs are now fed better, and they just don't eat filth anymore. Yeah, right. Let me shed a little light on that for you. Neither farmers nor scientists have discovered a way to manufacture or breed a pig that does not contain the Trichinae worm. No, it cannot be done. If the breeders feed them strawberries, carrots, celery, or anything healthy, they still would not be fit to eat. Chickens, cows, and sheep are a different breed. They're mild, non-aggressive, and most important, vegetarians. Pigs are vegetarian, carnivorous, and cannibalistic. They eat whatever they can get their hands on, not to mention their own babies. An excellent example is mad cow disease. These cows got deadly disease from cow meat mixed in with their grain that they usually eat. The pig has been roaming the earth for about 4,000 years. At that time, the hog's major purpose, other than eating filth, was for medicinal purposes only. Since pigs are biologically similar to humans, swine is said to be handy in the aid of curing boils, burns, and the swelling following a black eye. Pork has also been used to bond amputated fingers or toes back to the limb they were severed from, and as a bandage on burn victims. Pork is the flesh of a pig or hog, also known as swine. The actual cellular structure of a pig is full of worms. These worms are generally called pork worms and are known by the medical profession as Trichinae or Trichinella Spiralis. Researchers have proved there are over 900 different types of Trichinae worm found in the hog. The very blood of the hog, every cell of the hog, the actual flesh of the hog contains Trichinae spiralis. The point I'm trying to establish here is that the hog does not contract the Trichinae worm. The hog is a nasty, filthy, microscopic mass of worms. The pig flesh is 99% worms and 99.9% poison, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The pig is so poisonous and filthy that nature had to prepare a sewer line for him. The sewage line opening is located on his forelegs. It is a little hole out of which oozes pus. This is the filth of his body that cannot be passed fast enough. The pig is so filthy and poisonous that nature had to prepare him a sewer line. In the pig foreleg, there's a hole, there's a sewage line, there's an opening where it oozes out pus. It oozes out the filth from the pig's body that he can't pass out fast enough. That was brought to him by nature. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also teaches that the genetic makeup of the pig is cat, rat, and dog. I'm going to say it again. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that the pig is made of cat, rat, and dog. So by now, I'm sure you get the picture of why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that pork, eating this pig flesh, is not good for health. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. It has everything to do with science. You can either accept this truth or reject this truth. Eat to live and not to die. Assalamu alaikum.